to Richmond in Olean on Wednesday. And this is a team without, as John mentioned, their starting point guard, Jalen Adams. So more time again for junior backup point guard, Akeem Alston. On the other side for St. Joe's, they need a good game out of Chris Wilson. He has struggled as of late. Mark Schmidt, 8th year, leading St. Bonaventure, led them to the Atlantic 10 tournament title in 2012. Longtime assistant and then a head coach at Robert Morris before leading the Bonnies. On the other side for St. Joseph's, year number 20 for the Dean of A-10 coaches, Phil Martelli, 7 20-win seasons, and last year guided the Hawks to a win in the Atlantic 10 tournament.
Well, Ed, in addition to both of those guys having the same barber, they actually like each other. They are both very active in Coaches versus Cancer and have gotten to know each other over a long period of time coaching against each other.
Series history, meeting number 69, but look at what's happened in Philadelphia. St. Joe's has beaten St. Bonaventure 23 of 26 meetings. Now, the Hawks have struggled to score at times this season, less than 62 points per game. Where is this game going to be won here tonight?
Well, I think the Hawks need another scorer other than Bembry. Bembry had a career night against St. Bonaventure the last time these two teams matched up. He had 27 points, but he's going to need some help.
Stepped on the end line, out of bounds. Denzel Gregg, and St. Joe's will get it back.
I think Coach Mark Schmidt is just trying to find the right combination of players, especially over the last 3 games with Jalen Adams missing. The team has turned the ball over more than he would like, and that's been kind of a trademark of St. Bonaventure, of not giving the other team easy opportunities.
Isaiah Miles hit every piece of the rim, but popped out. Comes all the way out to Bembry, and St. Joseph's with an extra possession.
Well, interesting, Phil Martelli starting Bauman here in this game. In the game against Dayton, he went with a smaller lineup and played Aaron Brown as one of the starting forwards in place of Bauman.
Bauman will go to the line, fouled on the way up by the junior Marcus Posley of St. Bonaventure. And Posley, someone who's beaten a couple of teams with buzzer beaters, Davidson and VCU, but he has struggled as of late. Right now, Bauman at the line, chance to score the game's first point. The redshirt sophomore from Germany. One more coming. What are the keys for the Bonnies tonight?
The Bonnies, they have to keep the Hawks off the glass. St. Joseph's did a great job in their last game getting second shots. They had actually 16 offensive rebounds. And Posley has to find his touch. He's really struggled in the last 2 games. 2 for 25 from 3. He's a good scorer. He had a great game against St. Joe's the last time. He needs to step it up offensively.
Out of sorts, Denzel Gregg, but a foul is called before the shot. And this one inside on the Hawks, and it goes against Bauman.
Well, the Hawks have to shoot well from 3. I mean, anytime they've scored enough points to win, it's usually Bembry and somebody else like Isaiah Miles. And then they can't let Endoy get easy baskets in the low post. They're really going to focus on trying to defend him. That's why Bauman's in the game early.
Bonnie's trying to snap their 3-game slide, going against zone here early.
Yeah, I think Phil Martelli's tried the zone defense more this year than I've noticed in the past.
Off the bounce, pull-up jumper too much from Alston. Endoy trips over a man. He's called for traveling. DeAndre Bembry is lying right there on the hardwood, and Endoy couldn't avoid him.
Well, the important thing for Endoy is not get in foul trouble early. He makes such a difference, especially on the defensive end, especially on the backboard for this Bonaventure team.
St. Joseph's coming in off a loss at Dayton Thursday. They played extremely well. Traveling calls here on DeAndre Bembry. In that game, Bembry missed a tying free throw with 42 seconds to go. And then down by 2, he turned it over with 4 seconds remaining. Phil Martelli's squad has been in a lot of close games this year.
They sure have, but they feel much more confident when playing here at the Hagen Arena.
Extra feed. Another extra pass, Posley off the mark again, and 2 minutes in, we're still And a Philly score, 1-0.
You know what? He really had a good look. His shoulders were square. He's wide open at the top of the key.
Wilson with a look. He drains a three, and that's what they've been waiting for, especially in recent weeks.
Yeah, again, Bembry's been a very reliable three-point shooter. He takes the most threes, but the Hawks look their best offensively when somebody else steps up.
Another try for Posley. And the weak side rebound pulled down by James Demry. Bauman wasn't ready for it, but he has it now. St. Joe's 1 of 2 to start. St. Bonaventure 0 for their first 3, along with 2 turnovers. 9 to shoot for St. Joseph's. Bauman takes, leaves it off for Miles. He's hacked, and he finishes. Chance at 3.
Bauman did a pretty good job. I thought Endoy took a chance that he really didn't need. You can see Endoy reaches for the ball. He misses it, so Bauman has an opportunity to get to the basket, and wisely lays it off to Miles, who's able to finish. So good play there by Bauman off the dribble.
Miles coming off a terrific game at Dayton. He scored 23 on 9 of 14 shooting.
A good sign here early for the Hawks. They haven't had to rely on Bembry to get their points.
6-0 start for St. Joseph's. And now a foul on Demry. Got in the way of Andel Cumberbatch. And for the Hawks, that's their second foul, the first on James Demry.
Posley was such a factor offensively in the last game against St. Joe's. He was 5 for 10 from 3.
Cumberbatch lights it up from beyond the arc, and the first points for St. Bonaventure.
Well, that might be contagious, because if the Hawks stay in their zone, somebody from St. Bonaventure is going to have to make some shots on the perimeter to open it up in the lane for Endoy.
Wilson's already knocked down 1 3. Here's Bembry on the cut, knocked away by Cumberbatch. It stays with the Hawks with 13 to shoot. Substitution for St. Bonaventure. Dion Wright, averaging 13 a game, replaces Denzel Gregg. Mark Schmidt trying to find the right combinations while Jalen Adams remains sidelined.
You know, Dion Wright could make a huge difference in this game. He's their team's second leading scorer at 13 points a game.
Shot clock at 5. Wilson looking for his own shot. Kick to Bauman. Floater doesn't go, and Wright tracks down the rebound. Cumberbatch leaves it out for Wright. Back-to-back buckets here for St. Bonaventure.
Boy, that was good penetration and a pass to Wright, wide open on the baseline about 14 feet from the basket.
Both teams have knocked down 2 shots. Here comes Bembry against Cumberbatch. The step back, and he drains it. That's what DeAndre Bembry does best.
Well, you know what I think he's done also better at is he's looking to get his shot. I mean, sometimes, he might think he's forcing the shot, but Phil Martelli wants him to do that.
Hawks are 3 for their first 5, and with the early lead on St. Bonaventure. Well, St. Committee, 8-10 assists, highlights the collective impact of the conference's student athletes in their communities. Learn more at Atlantic10.com/assists. 8-5 lead for St. Joseph's here in the early going. A nice feed to right for St. Bonaventure. Here's tied up. And now controlled by Andel Cumberbatch. Shot clock at 7.
Well, so
Austin,
far,
and now Wright. And before that, a foul with the shot clock at 1.
and so far, St. Bonaventure really has not been able to get a shot for Endoy. So this zone has really done a pretty good job of keeping the ball away from him. Fortunately, some other players for the Bonnies have stepped up on the offensive end.
You talked about guarding Endoy and finding that second option for St. Joseph's. Right now, just over 5 minutes in, Javon Bauman's on the bench with 2 fouls.
Yeah, that could matter here, and the Hawks are going to go with a guy that doesn't necessarily get a lot of minutes.
Jai Williams, big guy, number 40, in for the Hawks.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Phil Martelli has put him in the game. He doesn't play a lot, but against a matchup like Endoy, he's a big body, and he's probably the only guy other than Bauman that can defend Endoy in the low post.
Here come the Hawks off the turnover. Wilson drains the long two. His foot was on the line.
Again, he's looking for his shot right now, and he's playing with some confidence, and that's going to make a huge difference for the Hawks offensively.
10-5 start for St. Joseph's. Posley, a catch and shoot for three. Got it to drop. Marcus Posley with his first points tonight.
Well, this might be a shift here in the climate for Posley. If he can get back on track offensively, especially from the three, it's going to make a huge difference.
After the block, Miles there to clean it up. His second basket for St. Joe's.
Well, most of the time, Miles gets shots from beyond the arc. That time in the right place. And Williams being a little bit more offensive-minded there in the last possession.
Posley trying to make it 2 straight threes. Out comes James Demery, leading the St. Joseph's break. Miles trailing the play. In and out. Rebound Demery trying to go right back up. Too much. Third opportunity denied by Endoy, showing why he's the best in the A-10 in that department. Cumberbatch the other way. Couldn't hit it off the glass.
The Hawks are doing a good job on the offensive backcourt. I thought that was one of the keys in their last game against St. Bonaventure. So far, they have 4 offensive rebounds.
Wilson trying to get around Posley. Miles collects. Shot clock at 8. Here's Bembry from deep. DeAndre Bembry way off the mark. They lean on him for so much scoring. That was a deep try. Endoy draws the triple. Cumberbatch open as a result. In and out. Rebound right back up. Third opportunity for Endoy, tap wide.
Well, in many respects, Endoy made the right play. He realized he was double teamed.
Count the basket. James Demery given the continuation. And he'll have a chance at a three-point play on the foul by Marcus Posley.
Good fast break here by on his sideline that he's not happy that he's wearing a cast, and that's Jalen Adams, a very talented freshman point guard who's averaging 10 points a game up until his injury. Fractured his finger, had surgery, and no one's really sure whether or not he'll be back for the Atlantic 10 tournament.
Bonnies are not deep now, and that was his second foul on Marcus Posley, and yet he stays in. We haven't even played 8 minutes, so he must now play through the foul trouble with his team trailing by 7. Cumberbatch, and now Gregg for St. Bonaventure. Wright trying to clear some room. Behind the back flip from Cumberbatch. Runner doesn't go. Rebound Gregg. Right back up and in for the Bonnies.
Well, that's something St. Bonaventure's always done well. Mark Schmidt, certainly, that's kind of one of their signature plays. They play good defense and they get offensive rebounds.
Neither team shoots it all that well from 3, so seeing it zone on both sides right now. Nice look. Aaron Brown goes reverse and lays it in.
Great finish there by Brown, but I got to give a compliment to DeAndre Bembry. He can really see the court, leads this team in assists. He has a tremendous feel for the game, and I don't think sometimes everybody appreciates that. They look at his scoring. I kind of look at the things that he doesn't do that necessarily doesn't end up in the box score.
And Del Cumberbatch sticks another 3. That's the second one for the St. Bonaventure senior. Hawks shooting it at 50%. Here's Wilson. That's his third long-range shot, his second one from 3.
Well, before the game, I went up to the St. Joe's coaches and I said, which team is going to show up here tonight in terms of shooting the basketball? And they said, well, we'd really like the team that played against Dayton to show up tonight because the Hawks, for the most part, shot pretty well from the 3.
Back comes Gregg. Tough shot in traffic. He banks it in. Second bucket for the native of Syracuse, Denzel Gregg. 20-15 Hawks as we near the midway point of the first half.
Well, this game's a bit higher scoring than I thought. Both teams are averaging in the 60s points per game, but right now we're on track for an 80-point game.
Brown matched up with Wright, feeds the cutter Newkirk. Extra feed for Williams was knocked out by Mosley. It will stay with the Hawks, who right now shooting at 53% to start this game.
Well, the Hawks looking good. Chris Wilson's making a few shots. Well, people are getting excited for the Atlantic 10 tournament. It's coming up in only a few weeks, and we're going to have a treat to go out there and watch some games and broadcast a few games.
Looking forward to having that first day here on the Atlantic 10 Network. All 14 teams descending on Flatbush and Atlantic. Should be great. How about St. Bonaventure? Slow start, 3 of 13, but since then, they've hit 3 consecutive shots.
You know, they're staying in the game, and you certainly can't count them out. One of the things that Mark Schmidt's team has always done, in my mind, is overachieved. He never makes any excuses. He doesn't let the players do that, and they always come to play.
St. Joe's shooting 50%. Aaron Brown off the mark there. Bembry, offensive rebound, jarred loose, and then loose on the end line. Let's see which way they send it. Last touch by the Bonnies.
We can never forget about DeAndre Bembry. Even if he's not shooting the basketball, he's a very dangerous offensive rebounder. So who's ever assigned to guarding him has to pay attention to him the entire 35 seconds.
Far from an easy task. Right now, Andel Cumberbatch is on Bembry. On a switch now, Wright guarding Bembry. Here's Wilson, another look for 3. That one way off the mark. And Cumberbatch leads the Bonnies down the floor. Cumberbatch off the bounce. He's hit a couple of long-range shots. Was tapped down, kept alive by Chris Dees. And another offensive rebound for St. Bonaventure.
Well, Chris Dees does a good job coming off the bench, giving the Bonnies some good minutes there. He kept the ball alive. A nice play by the senior.
Mosley staying in the game with 2 fouls. Takes it strong to the basket. The switch and the finish.
Well, that was a good drive to the basket.
Carrying called. 3rd turnover on the Hawks.
Kind of an unforced error. Here you're going to go look at 2 of the top scorers in the Atlantic 10 Conference. DeAndre Bembry at 18 points a game, and Marcus Mosley not too far behind at 16.4.
Bill Martelli said to start the year, we need a lot from him. He said he better do too much. That's how much they have asked of DeAndre Bembry this season.
Yeah, when I look at his game, there's really only one thing that he hasn't done well this year, and that is shooting the ball from the foul line. He gets to the foul line quite a bit. I like his shot, particularly from the three-point line, but he really has struggled from the foul line this year.
Here comes Gregg, leaves it down low, and Endoy fouled by Williams. Now doesn't like it. Not an easy assignment against Endoy. And Jai Williams, with Bauman on the bench with 2 fouls, picks up one of his own.
Jai Williams is getting some quality minutes. He's a guy that really kind of struggled earlier this season. He missed 5 games because he had 2 teeth knocked out during the Drexel game.
Back comes Akeem Alston in place of Mosley. So he's made it this far without picking up another foul. Talk about a guy who's blossomed. Yusu Endoy is a senior. You don't find too many 7-footers who can block shots the way he does.
You know what? And he's a heck of a soccer player. He grew up playing soccer. He didn't start organized basketball until fairly late in life.
Here comes Williams against Endoy. This is a blocking foul. And it goes against the aforementioned Yusu Endoy. His second. This a guy who played for Gary Williams at Boston College. Made the Elite 8 and 2 Sweet 16s. Bembry had it snatched by Wright.
And on the previous play, Wright had the ball taken out of his hands, so he's able to get it right back.
Alston takes on 3 defenders right there to clean it up and give St. Bonaventure its first lead of the game.
You're absolutely right, Ed. Alston going to the basket attracted a lot of company, but somebody forgot about Dion Wright, so the help defense did a good job, but nobody recovered to box out.
How about Bembry? Knows when the double's coming, he drives right through it.
And that's where Phil Martelli is very happy when Bembry forces a shot. Bembry kind of instinctively doesn't like to do that, but he's realized his team needs more baskets, and he's more willing to kind of take the risk.
Knocked away from Newkirk. Here come the Bonnies off the turnover. The speed of Posley right to the basket. Flicks it up over Miles.
Well, that was a good, strong finish there by Posley. It's a second turnover now by Newkirk.
10-2 run, spanning almost 4 minutes. So 1-point lead for St. Bonaventure. And back the other way, foul called on Akeem Alston. And that is the first on the point guard.
I really like the way Marcus Posley is stepping up offensively. He's not relying on his three-point shot. He's getting to the basket. He's a real talent and certainly a threat to score every time he has the basketball.
Team fouls, 4 on St. Joseph's, 5 on St. Bonaventure. St. Joe's last 5 trips, John, have included 3 turnovers. Evan Mashmeyer, number 0, in for St. Joe's. It's another turnover, and Mashmeyer meets Posley at midcourt and fouls him.
But some of them are bad turnovers because it's giving St. Bonaventure an opportunity in transition. Like that was a bad pass by Miles, and fortunately for the Hawks, they fouled because the Bonnies would have had an easy basket in transition.
So each team now with 5 fouls. 4 turns in the last 6 trips for St. Joseph's. Bonnies lead by 1. Alston's pass deflected. D's the hook shot, too much. Tapped off the head of Miles, retrieved by Brown.
Very small lineup on the floor for St. Joseph's. Isaiah Miles is the biggest guy on the floor for the Hawks right now.
Mashmeyer. Long bounce, look at Alston looking to push. And Bembry meets him at midcourt and commits another foul, the 6th on St. Joseph's. And for DeAndre Bembry, that's his first.
Well, the Hawks have had these droughts, at different points during the season. In the game against Fordham, they started out hot. They made a bunch of threes early on, and then they went really cold and only made 2 of their final 21. So Phil Martelli's concerned about these droughts, and he obviously wants some guys to step up, make some shots without turning the ball over.
Well, Posley has the green light to drive it, and right now he's doing just that. 9 points for the junior transfer.
Well, I think Phil Martelli's going to have to shift who's guarding Posley. He's going out of that half-court zone defense, playing man-to-man, but so far now, no one's really able to stay in front of Posley.
25-22 St. Bonaventure, and they force another turnover, the 7th on the Hawks. Posley trailing the play for 3, an air ball. Kept alive, but right into the hands of Mashmeyer, and the Hawks looking to take advantage. Brown was wide open, but then he's called for steps, and the turnovers keep on coming for St. Joseph's.
Boy, an unforced error. That looked like a really good pass. Brown had a tremendous opportunity to finish. Phil Martelli has to be a little bit concerned right now. His team only had 1 day rest after the game at Dayton. Fortunately, they chartered back the night of the game, Thursday night, so they had all of Friday to get ready and rest and prepare for this game.
Last 9 trips for St. Joseph's. They've turned it over 6 times. And the other way, Alston gets his own rebound. Oh, too much. Didn't realize he'd be that wide open.
And he got his 2nd rebound. I mean, good hustle there on the part of Alston.
Now on a switch against Brown. Sets it up for Posley. Right. Gets the contact from Isaiah Miles. That's the first on the junior from Baltimore. And team foul number 7 will send Dion Wright to the line for a bonus trip.
Well, Wright's a pretty good foul shooter at almost 80%, and he had a terrific game earlier this season against VCU with 19 points and 8 rebounds.
Wide open look for Demery. An air ball. We've seen a couple of those so far tonight. Austin had it stripped, and last touch by Chris Wilson. From hats to hoodies, jerseys to jackets, the Atlantic 10 Fan Shop has all the gear for your favorite A10 team and merchandise for the 2015 Men's Basketball Championship at Barclays Center. Go to Atlantic10.com and click on Shop. Too much for Denzel Gregg coming our way. Couldn't save it. And the Bonnies, John, with a turnover, but they lead by 3.
Yeah, another kind of unforced error here, but the Bonnies are playing good on the road. They have a 3-point.
But it's fun to hear those great stories from over 20 years ago.
Well, and Phil, recognizes that we're all part of a long line of guys starting with Jack Ramsey. And before that, Billy Ferguson and Jack McKinney and Paul Westhead and Jimmy Lynam and Harry Booth, Jimmy Boyle. Can name them all.
One day we're going to get your best Phil Martelli story. One day. Chris Wilson's had a good game so far. Missed that shot. Wilson has scored 8. Leading the Hawks right now are scoreless for almost 4 minutes. They trail 25-22 with 3 and change to go before the break.
And the Hawks have only scored 2 points in that last 7-minute stretch with 5 turnovers. So they're still in the game, but really struggling to score.
Handoff for Gregg, fouled on the take by Miles in the process of shooting, so it's Gregg at the line for 2.
We talked about in the open how the Hawks have played so well here at Hagan Arena. 5-1 in the Atlantic 10 Conference, and right now they're just kind of struggling. They really haven't played the way Phil Martelli would expect here in an important Atlantic 10 game.
Coming up at the break, we'll speak with tonight's coaches about the first half, and we'll be joined by the father of bracketology, Joe Lunardi, to preview the NCAA tournament. All that plus first half analysis. Stay with us at the break. It's that time of the year for Joe.
Well, he loves it. Everybody wants to hear what he has to say, and he's as informed as anyone in terms of how the NCAA tournament is going to shape up.
And the turnovers just keep on coming for St. Joseph's. Now 9 in this first half compared to 4 for St. Bonaventure.
Well, Aaron Brown just trying to do too much. I appreciate his ability to go to the basket, but he's done a good job of finishing. That time he looked to dish it off, and he just threw a harder pass than anyone could handle.
Gregg turns it over. Out comes Demery for a 3-on-2 break. Wilson denied. Gregg came back for the block. And then gives it right back. Bembry for Wilson. And finally, the Hawks snap that drought. And Mark Schmidt wants a timeout.
You know, Ed, at the 10-minute mark, the Hawks had 20 points, and I said we were on pace for an 80-point game. They're actually going to have to go on the road this Wednesday and face a UMass team that just lost 2 on the road. We had their game against Rhode Island and the game they lost today against VCU.
St. Bonaventure in the midst of their field goal drought of over 3 minutes. D is trying to break it, and he does. Splash over Bauman.
That was a really good execution on the part of St. Bonaventure. Bauman was trying to position himself to block a shot, but he just left these open.
Deflected there by Alston with 1:52 to go in this first half. Turnover plague to say the least, 15 combined. Miles back in. He'll play on with 2 fouls as Bauman goes back to the bench.
This is good basketball on the part of Bonaventure. You can see Dion Wright realizes he's getting double-teamed, and he finds his teammate wide open, Chris Dees.
Bembry over Wright. Follows up his own miss with the left and tips it in.
Well, I thought Wright did a very good job of defending the shot, but not in boxing out Bembry.
Knocked away by Brown. Here comes Demry for a big one-handed jam.
That's Demry and not Bembry, and you can see why the Hawks are so high on this talented young freshman.
First tie of the night, knotted up at 28. Mosley, rebound for Demry, and a run out for Wilson. The look off, the drive, and a foul on Dees.
Well, trying to make a statement there, James Demry had a little head of steam and got way over the rim. I saw him earlier this season where he had a breakaway and missed a dunk, so he wasn't going to let it happen on that possession.
Bauman back in for Miles. Phil Martelli going a little offense-defense here with both guys up front, each with 2 fouls. Now Chris Wilson at the line. He has scored 11 for St. Joseph's, and this is his 4th game in double figures in Atlantic 10 play. That's a good sign. Mark Schmidt can't believe it. He thought the foul should be on Aaron Brown, but instead it goes the other way on his team. First foul on Dion Wright sends Aaron Brown to the line.
A couple calls in this half so far that Mark Schmidt really feels has gone against him and his team.
1 minute remaining in the first half.
Final minute first half. High scoring early. You can see St. Bonaventure 1 for their last 5. 4 turnovers in their last 11 trips. Alston knocked away by Wilson. And will stay with St. Bonaventure.
Well, I think both coaches, when they go in the locker room, are going to talk about how they have to play a better second half. I mean, they're going to protect the ball better. They're going to have to make more foul shots.
Mosley draws the reach in, and it's on Chris Wilson. That's his first. Team foul. Number 9 on St. Joseph's will send Mosley to the line.
St. Bonaventure's a better foul shooting team than the Hawks. Bonnies are shooting at 70%, the Hawks at 62%.
One more coming for Marcus Mosley. Began his career at Ball State. Last year played for Indian Hills in Iowa. This guy bursts onto the scene when he arrives at St. Bonaventure. A couple of game winners, 9 20-point games, and he's given the Bonnies the lead by 1.
I talked to Mark Schmidt before the game, and I told him I love the play he ran against Davidson to get Mosley the shot with a little over 4 seconds to go to win that basketball game.
5 seconds separate game clock and shot clock. Phil Martelli calls for time. The throwaway timeout with 36 seconds to go in this first half. He has to wonder what could have been given all those turnovers.
For sure, maybe even in the top 4. You know, the Hawks are no strangers to close games. And of their 25, 18 have been decided by 10 points or less. And the way this game seems to be shaping up, it's going to be close going into the last 5 minutes of the second half.
Largest lead for either team was a 7-point edge for St. Joseph's. Right now, 8 to shoot. Wilson looking out. Demry pulls up. Comes up short. Rebound for Cumberbatch. 3 seconds for St. Bonaventure. Has to hurry. Cumberbatch launches. And that is the end of the first half. It's a 1-point lead for the Bonnies at the break.
Well, Cumberbatch had some time, and his teammates were looking at it to get him the basketball, but he wasn't able to find them.
6 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. He played the entire 20 minutes in the first half. And away we go. Ed Cohen, John Griffin, our entire crew led by Joel Kate on a snowy night in Philadelphia from Hagan Arena.
And if you talk about a team that plays well in the Atlantic 10 tournament, Mark Schmidt's team did that in 2012 when they won the championship. And, his team has always come to play.
Ball knocked away, kept alive by Endoy. Shot clock at 7. Right, nowhere to go. Cumberbatch from deep drills the 3. That felt like it was from Olean. That was from way out.
Actually, in the Atlantic 10 tournament last year, St. Joseph's beat St. Bonaventure. And obviously, you talked about St. Joseph's winning the Atlantic 10 tournament. Almost beat UConn in that second round game.
Maybe the toughest game against the Huskies. Little did we know then they'd go on to win the national title. Knocked away, kept alive, Cumberbatch, and the rebound for Isaiah Miles. Wilson scored 11 in the first half. The runner, no, tip up and in. Javon Bauman got his finger on it.
And Wilson had an opportunity to get all the way to the basket. Phil Martelli really wasn't happy with his team at halftime, and he was really concerned about the turnovers. 9 first-half turnovers.
Wilson comes in for the rebound. He's the point guard, led them in scoring. Wants to see a little more with the ball.
He did mention that his team played a little tired, and I think it has to do probably with playing on the road Thursday night at Dayton and have only 1 day's rest in preparation for this game.
Bauman with the cut and the slam. Give Bembry the assist.
Well, 2 quick baskets here in the second half for Javon Bauman. Bauman's not a guy that normally looks to score. He's averaging under 4 points a game.
Played only 6 minutes in the first half. Picked up 2 quick fouls. Alston was 0 for 6 in the first half. Not anymore. His first basket.
Boy, Chris Wilson was playing off of Alston, just kind of daring him to shoot. For some reason, it doesn't look like Wilson's able to kind of move laterally quick enough.
35-33, St. Bonaventure. Knocked away. Endoy snuck in to help and force it away from Bauman. It's off to a good start since the break.
Yeah, Bauman's normally a guy that blocks shots, but this is an opportunity for him to tap it back. No one boxed him out. Endoy goes to try to block a shot, but he forgets about Bauman.
His 3 off the inbounds, collected by Endoy. Crowd wanted to travel on the 7-footer, but here come the bodies. Alston met by the bigger Bauman, and the 6'8 sophomore from Germany is called for his 3rd.
Alston does a good job of getting the ball over half court quickly, trying to beat the defenders down the floor. I guess Phil Martelli will leave Bauman in the game and see if he can stay in there without getting his 4th.
Knocked away from Posley. Hawks force a turnover. Bembry, Demry, fouled by Cumberbatch, and the freshman will go to the line for St. Joseph's.
Bauman is a guy that, when he gets a little bit of space, he's going to finish above the rim. He's a big guy, and he's very strong. He grew up in Germany. A couple good German players in the Atlantic 10, Chris Singfelder from Fordham and Javon Bauman.
Bauman, known as a guy who's a little hard on himself. He came off the bench for the first time this season at Dayton on Thursday. Played only 10 minutes. Phil Martelli wanted to play smaller against a Dayton team with no one above 6'6". But if he can stay on the court and avoid the foul trouble, we figure those minutes will go up here tonight. Tied at 35 with over 3 minutes gone by. Dion White for Yusu Endoy. An air ball and a rebound for Bembry.
Well, that's not really Endoy's game. He needs to get the ball much closer to the basket.
But the turnovers, an issue for the Hawks. That's their 10th. First one since halftime.
The Hawks want to play with 12 or 13 turnovers in a game, and they're close to that mark already. So if there's a couple of things that Phil Martelli would take issue with, it's his team's foul shooting and turnovers.
Reach and foul here on James Demery. That's the third on the St. Joe's freshman.
Well, here's a good pass to Endoy. He's just about 14, 15 feet from the basket, but he doesn't hit the rim, and I think he's at his best when he's closest to the basket. I love his improvement over the course of his career, but he needs to get the ball in the low post and try to get in close enough so he can dunk the ball close to the rim, get to the foul line.
The ceiling is so high for a guy who picked it up so late. Already with 9 double-doubles this season. Posted another one Wednesday with 12 points and 10 rebounds against Richmond. You can't teach 7 feet.
I know, but St. Bonaventure only scores 67 points a game, so they need everybody to get to their average.
And out Cumberbatch too much. Bauman back for the board. Man down for St. Bonaventure. Wilson leans in. He's fouled. And he will go to the line for 2. Foul against Dion Wright of St. Bonaventure. We're tied here in. Always great to tell the stories of the Atlantic 10 student athletes. Right now, Chris Wilson heads to the line for St. Joseph's, looking for his first point since the break, and he'll have one more attempt at the strike.
Chris Wilson's playing a very strong game. I'm wondering a little bit as I watch his ankle. He kind of hobbled off the floor after that last timeout, and I think he struggled trying to play man-to-man defense and move laterally, so it'll be interesting to see how he's able to kind of finish this game. An all-important 15 minutes remaining.
You ask either coach, I don't think either can afford an injury at this juncture. Going to find their rotation and utilize their depth in the final weeks. Here's a turnover forced by the Hawks, and it's Wilson in the corner. Too much. Kept alive by Demery. Still loose. Knocked away by Wright, so it will stay with St. Joseph's.
Seems like it's been a slippery basketball all night long. Yeah. Both teams have really had trouble handling the basketball.
Now some snow outside. You hope isn't on the hardwood, but nonetheless, one of those kinds of games here at Hagan Arena. DeAndre Bembry with the finish. He has scored 8, and the Hawks extend the lead to 3.
Well, it's really affected their home crowd here. The Hawks have done a good job over the Atlantic 10 regular season of filling this place, but as you well know, Ed, it's been a hard place to get to because of the weather. Here's just a tough finish by Bembry, and this is what he's trying to do more and more this season. Create his scoring opportunities. They don't easily come to him, and he can find a way to score.
Javon Bauman exits. That was his 4th personal foul. So Jai Williams back in. And some big minutes in store for number 40 in white. What does this mean for St. Joe's now?
Well, I think it means for St. Bonaventure that Endoy should take over. It'll be interesting to see what Jai Williams can do on the defensive end. Bauman did a very good job. He scored a lot of points tonight, from relatively speaking, but at the same time, he did a very good job defensively on Yusu Endoy.
Endoy just fouled by Williams. That was his 2nd foul. 14 fouls on St. Joseph's this half, 2 on the Bonnies. Here's Endoy matched up with Williams. On a kick out, Alston curls around his man, falls away, comes up short. Kept alive by Wright. He lays it in for St. Bonaventure.
Well, Wright's made a difference here tonight. I mean, good job. I thought Alston was wide open when he caught the basketball, but he doesn't seem awful confident in his three-point shot. Coming into the game, he's only taken 5 threes on the season. He's 1 for 5.
Almost 6 minutes gone by since the break. Miles couldn't finish on the pick and roll. Bonnie's on the run. Austin takes it right to the rim and lays it in. Got by Bembry.
Well, that's what Austin does well. He can get to the basket. I've watched him a couple times now in the starts in the Dayton game. He did a very good job of getting into the lane. Phil Martelli wanted to foul in that last play when Miles went to the basket. That would have put Endoy perhaps on the bench here with his third personal foul.
Emery feeds the screener. Williams lost it. Break for the Bonnies. Posley to the basket and to the left hand once again.
Well, that's clearly been the most effective part of Bonaventure's offense, getting to the basket. Just saw Posley on that last possession. The previous play, Austin was able to get to the basket. I'm not sure St. Joe's should continue to run this kind of pick and roll for Jai Williams. He's just not experienced enough when he catches the ball to be able to finish.
St. Bonaventure on a 6-0 run. That was after Bauman picked up his fourth foul. Big point in the game. 8 to shoot. Bembry lobs to the screener again, and before the shot, Williams is fouled.
This is a tough play on Austin's part, but you can see Wright does a great job getting in position to rebound the miss. Bauman's not in the lineup, so who's going to stop, in this case, the drive to the basket by Akeem Austin? So a couple easy baskets that maybe Bauman would have prevented had he been in the game.
Bembry threw it off of Endoy, but got it back. Out of the post for Wilson. They needed that. A three-pointer for the senior. That's his third of the night.
A good ball movement there on the part of the Hawks to find Wilson, and he didn't have to dribble the ball into that shot. So as a standstill three-point shooter, he's pretty good.
He's hit all three of the Hawks' three-pointers. We're tied again at 41. Endoy against Miles. Quick release, but too much. And then Brown's fouled after pulling down the board. First foul on Denzel Gregg. Each team now with 4 this half.
Endoy goes to the bench here, and Mark Schmidt is going to need Endoy here to score in this game for Bonnies to win. I mean, he played a very good game offensively against St. Joseph's earlier in this season when he finished with 15 points.
Wilson with the look off, stripped by Posley. John Hughes says off of Wilson.
I like the way Chris Wilson's playing, but I like it when he lets the game come to him. That time he kind of forced something, and that's not his best basketball. It's kind of moving the ball, making good decisions, taking open threes.
Point guard play an issue for the Hawks. Likewise for St. Bonaventure without Jalen Adams. Another turnover, and that's the 10th on St. Bonaventure. Chris Wilson leading the Hawks. It's all about. They won it all 3 seasons ago. He said reaching the NCAA tournament in 2012 was as meaningful as Kentucky that year winning the national title. Heck of a run by the Bonnies.
Well, St. Bonaventure is so important to the community of Olean. I really have always enjoyed going up there. I still read the Olean Times Herald, and it's a great place. Wonderful following, great fans.
We've got an inside look at what newspapers you read here tonight. Here's Bembry. No contact. And Brown tracks down the offensive rebound. Alongside the former St. Joe's coach, John Griffin, I'm Ed Cohen. Got a tie game at 41. DeAndre Bembry got it back, and he lays it in. Bembry now at 10, and the streak continues.
Yeah, I was wondering when he was going to kind of step up offensively. He's had 22 consecutive double-figure games coming into this one, and so far kind of stalled at 8.
Wright with an open look from the foul line. Dion Wright now with 8 points. So we've had 6 ties and 7 lead changes, and this has been played very even across the board.
Yeah, it's interesting, with St. Bonaventure tied on the road, with Endoy hardly having scored, only 2 points tonight. I think Mark Schmidt has to kind of feel happy so far with the way his team played. Conversely, Phil Martelli's team is tied in this game with Bembry not being the leading scorer. Chris Wilson stepping up offensively.
Hawks with 5 to shoot, knocked away by Dees. Posley up along for Cumberbatch.
Well, another one of those bad turnovers for the Hawks. I mean, that's something Phil Martelli's team generally has avoided this season. They've generally taken care of the basketball.
Aaron Brown has been such a key point for St. Joseph's. Now with 4 points and a timeout as we're tied again at 45. Past the midway point weeks in the regular season, what do you hope to see out of your team in these final games before you get to a conference tournament?
Well, and I think you really want to see your team playing its best basketball of the season. You hope your team's healthy, and you want to kind of see it shift into another gear so that you know when you're going into the tournament, you're really putting your best basketball on the floor.
We saw that from the Hawks last year and winning the championship. Right now in a tie game with St. Bonaventure. Chris D spun and then lost the handle.
The other great thing about the tournament is even a team that doesn't finish in the top half of the league can get hot over 3 or 4 nights and get to the finals and maybe have a chance to steal the Atlantic 10 championship. So it kind of gives everybody the opportunity to play good basketball and get hot at the right time.
Here's Isaiah Miles. That's a 3 for St. Joseph's, and they lead it by 3.
Well, he's a dangerous shooter. He's very capable of making those shots from long range, and you're never sure exactly when he's going to take or make the shot, but it came at a good time for the Hawks.
4-3 for St. Joe's. First one by a guy besides Wilson. Going up top. Greg couldn't throw it down. Came down with it and was quickly fouled. And it's on Isaiah Miles. That's the 3rd on the St. Joe's junior.
Boy, this was a terrific play. A good read here. A very nice pass to Denzel Gregg. Gregg was unhappy with himself that he wasn't able to finish. But it was a terrific pass and well designed.
8:40 left. Bauman re-enters with 4 fouls in place of Brown.
Well, he's played good basketball. And again, in spite of the fact that we focus so much on his offense tonight, his defense has been outstanding.
Marcus Posley sticks to 3 for St. Bonaventure. 16 points, second 3 for Posley.
Well, he can light it up. I was kind of reading some stuff about Marcus Posley earlier this season. Against Duquesne, he had 36 points. If you can believe this, 12 points in the final 2.5 minutes.
Microwave and some. He could score quick. Here's Demery, pulls up, comes up short. Weak side, Miles kept it alive, but snatched by Endoy. Posley from deep again. Not that time. Inside of 8 minutes, we're tied up at 48. 8 ties already tonight. Embry stripped. Posley, one man a beat, that's Demery. Leans in, popped out. Back comes Demery. He's got Wilson ahead for the deuce.
I thought Posley had an opportunity. He had to spin the ball, and the ball kind of just spun out. It gave St. Joe's an opportunity to kind of get an easy fast break basket. The last play, Demery actually dribbled the ball off his foot. That was reminiscent of the last play in the Dayton game where he, 4 seconds to go, actually dribbled the ball off his foot.
Wright trying to leave it off, gave it up to Demery. Kept it alive for Bembry, and he came up empty on the lefty slam attempt. Posley, almost a 5-point swing. Follow the bouncing ball, John Griffin. This time it's Gregg. He has nowhere to go. He gave it up to Bembry, or rather Demery. And he's fouled by Posley in a wild sequence on both sides.
Boy, Mark Schmidt can't believe what's happening. Either can Phil Martelli. I mean, each team is throwing the ball to their opponent. It's
UMass.
Well, the Hawks have played a number of close games this season. In fact, of 13 games, 13 games were decided by 5 points or less. The Hawks have won 6 of those 13 points. So it's going to come down to foul shooting, amongst other things. And the Hawks have struggled there a little bit this season. Only 62% from the foul line.
Look at the last meeting, John. At the under 8 timeout, it was 51-48. Right now, it's 50-48 St. Joe's, so we're traveling a similar path here in the closing minutes.
Well, I think the difference in the last game at the O'Reilly Center was Marcus Posley making some threes, and right now he's struggling again, only 2 for 9 from beyond the arc.
St. Joe's has made one more basket than St. Bonaventure as Bembry turns it over. Assists are even, each team with 10. Rebounds are now even at 30. And here's how close it's been tonight. A 5-point game or less for all but 28 seconds.
It's amazing when you look at these stats how evenly matched both teams are right now.
Alston on a kick out. Cumberbatch has had the hot hands here tonight. Andel Cumberbatch is 4 of 5 from 3.
And he's only a 32% three-point shooter on the season.
51-50, St. Bonaventure. 11 lead changes here tonight. Isaiah Miles, an air ball and trying to answer.
Well, he was looking for a foul, but not a good decision on the part of Miles. You know, he's at his best when somebody rotates the ball to him. He's got a little bit of space. That time he was very well guarded.
Deion Wright given the space. Weak side, big board and a foul. Yusu Endoy will go to the line. It's on Javon. Hawks did this against Dayton on Thursday. Different matchup against the bigger team, but they have done this before.
Yeah, and this is where a guy like Endoy, and we talked about, he's kind of new to basketball, didn't grow up playing basketball, but can really take over a game. The last game against St. Joe's, he was 7 for 10 from the foul line. He had 15 points. Last game against Richmond, he had 12 points and 10 rebounds.
1 of 2 trip. Endoy with 3 points, all at the line. He's 0 of 3 from the field. 5 and change left. 2-point lead for the Bonnies. Bembry from Brown. Step through. Too much. Put back up. Not in. Demery, third opportunity. Kicks it out right to Posley. Posley steps through, draws the foul, and they'll say it was on the way up.
Well, I know we don't keep these kind of stats, Ed, but I'd be really curious to see if we replayed this game, how many times a player from St. Joe's threw the ball to St. Bonaventure or vice versa. It's just been uncanny all night long.
A lot of safeties and cornerbacks feasting on interceptions in this one.
A lot of interceptions for sure. And you know what? They've led to scoring opportunities. That's a good example. That opportunity here for St. Bonaventure in transition.
Get connected with the A10 on social media. Find the A10 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram and get the inside scoop straight from the A10. Bonnies are now 6 of 10 from the line. 0 for 2 for Posley. Normally it's 76%.
Yeah, I mean, this is crunch time. This is, we talked about the last 2 weeks of the regular season. You go to the foul line with the game on the line, you expect, as a player, to make the shots, and certainly the coaches expect the same.
Brown against the bigger Endoy. He'll try it. Cumberbatch. Another weak side board.
You know, Phil Martelli kind of threw his hands up, and I agree. You know, when you have a guy like Bembry on your team, you at least want him to touch the ball each possession. If he chooses not to take the shot, okay, fine. The ball comes back to you. Good defense now on the part of Brown there to keep the ball away from Endoy.
Tried the high-low to the 7-footer. St. Joseph's, you see, scoreless for over 3 minutes, trying to break that drought down 2.
Well, again, you got to make sure that Bembry touches the basketball.
Foul inside. Team foul number 6 on the Bonnies. Andel Cumberbatch has had the hot.
They've done a great job. He only has 3 points. He does not have a field goal.
Pretty amazing when you factor in Bauman and his foul trouble. He's already fouled out for the Hawks. DeAndre Bembry, A-10's leading scorer, draws the double and still gets fouled, so he'll go to the line for 2. And they'll get Andel Cumberbatch with the personal. That's his 3rd. Each team now with 7 and 2 shots for Bembry.
Well, this is what the Hawks should keep doing, making sure that Bembry touches the basketball. That's a tough matchup for Cumberbatch. When Bembry posts up, he's a little bigger than Cumberbatch. And again, one of the things we talked about with Bembry, this is kind of the only weakness in his game so far this season. He's only shooting 60% from the foul line.
He's played every minute so far tonight. They ask a lot of him. Averages 38 minutes a game. And those free throws had a drought of 3 minutes and 29 seconds. Here we are, 9 ties, 11 lead changes tonight. Largest lead was St. Joe's, up by 7.
You can see how far Chris Wilson is playing off of Alston.
Alston had a look, now inside the arc. Tipped up a couple times by Cumberbatch. Finally tracked down by Wilson.
Boy, it was really just tempting Alston to take that shot. And Alston wide open, just not comfortable. He'd rather go to the basket, try to get to the rim.
3 and change left. Tied at 52. Hawks without a field goal for over 4 minutes. Phil Martelli calls timeout with 3 minutes to go and the shot clock at 13 seconds.
I think that was a good timeout because I think Phil Martelli recognized how important the possession was. He didn't seem...
Wilson's led the way with 17. Bembry also in double figures. He has scored 12. Shot clock at 5 coming out of the timeout. Given up to Wright. Wilson with the turnover. And the last thing you want to see if you're Phil Martelli coming out of that timeout.
Well, especially because he took the timeout. He set up a play. And his team not able to execute.
17 turnovers on the night. Cumberbatch. Posley now. 9 to shoot for the Bonnies. In a drought of their own. Now 4 in the shot clock. Endoy doubled. 2 to shoot. Knocked away. Now the clock was at 0. Now comes the whistle. Timeout called by St. Joe's, but the shot clock never heard the buzzer, John. Should have expired. It was at 0.
Yeah, Phil Martelli.
4 timeouts remaining for the Bonnies. Closely played game from the start. St. Joseph's led by as many as 7 in the first half. Hawks trying to get to 6 and 8 in conference play. St. Bonaventure trying to get to 7 and 7 in the Atlantic 10.
Well, had Mark Schmidt here just changed it up on the Hawks. He went to a half-court zone, so Phil Martelli probably diagrammed a play for a man-to-man defense, and they're now having to face a different scheme here.
Offensive board for Miles with 1:38 to go.
Phil Martelli now calling a different play. Good offensive rebound by the Hawks to give themselves another possession.
Coming up on 80 seconds left, tied at 52. They'll back it up, reset. Shot clock now at 10 for the Hawks. It's Brown into the lane. No. Tip up off glass. No good either. Tracked down by Posley with 1 minute and change to go.
We expected a tight game. And we're getting all of that here. These are two teams that are very evenly matched, not only in some of the stats we discussed earlier, but also in the Atlantic 10 standings. Only a game separates each team in that second tier of the Atlantic 10 regular season.
One timeout remaining for St. Joseph's, but they do have the possession arrow. St. Bonaventure scoreless for the last 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Shot clock now at 10. Posley drives on Brown, got it away quick, too much, got it back, but he is out of bounds. St. Joseph's ball with 40 seconds to go.
Well, I think that's a good decision on the part of Posley to drive to the basket. He's been most effective getting into the lane Endoy not able to kind of get his hand on this miss. You can see Posley just put it up on the backboard. Good call by the officials. Posley came back in from out of bounds, and so the Hawks will have to take a shot here.
Phil Martelli will use that final timeout with 35 seconds to go and 5 seconds separating game clock and shot clock. The Hawks have missed their last 7 shots. Trailed by 2, but turned it over with 4 seconds to go. And that was just 2 days ago, playing for the second time in 3 days here tonight.
Interestingly, Brendan Casper comes into the game for Phil Martelli.
Sophomore walk-on.
And James Demery goes to the bench. Mark Schmidt decides to play 2-3 zone. And the Hawks are going to take this shot clock down. They're going to have to look for a shot.
In the hands of Wilson. Shot clock at 9. Now Bembry. 5 to shoot. Contact. And a foul. And it's on Dion Wright with 5 on the shot clock. So DeAndre Bembry, normally 61% from the stripe. He's 2 for 2 tonight. And he heads there now for a bonus trip.
Mark Schmidt doesn't like the call. There was some contact there. And, that's one of those judgment calls here. You can see Bembry gets bumped there going to the basket. And no surprise that Bembry has the ball in his hands.
Had a chance to tie in the final minute at Dayton, missed a free throw, then turned it over in the final seconds for the lead. 3 bounces, we stay tied. Tie up before the timeout. Arrow says St. Joseph's with 8 seconds to go.
Well, that's huge.
In the bonus. Here we go, tied at 52. 8 seconds left. Wilson, they have no timeouts. Foul before the inbounds on Denzel Gregg. Mark Schmidt livid, and that was almost a 5-second violation.
Well, St. Bonaventure did a very good job. They almost double team here, and take a good look at Bembry. He's double teamed at least for a second, and then there's a switch. Now there is some contact here, and this is again where the judgment of the officials come into play. And Bernard Clinton is a very good official. This is a very experienced crew, and obviously he thought that St. Bonaventure created an advantage. Now there's plenty of time left, 8 seconds. This is a familiar place here for Mark Schmidt. His team is just going to have to box out Bembry in this situation only a few seconds ago.
Missed the last front end. Missed this one. Endoy with the rebound. 5 seconds left. Make that 6 seconds to go. Mark Schmidt will use his final timeout with a chance now to win the game after 2 consecutive front end.
To Marcus Posley and let him go to the basket.
Away we go. 5 seconds. It's Posley. 2 seconds. He waits. He drives. Gets it up. It's blocked by Miles. And we're going to overtime in Philadelphia.
Well, Mark Schmidt was hoping to get a foul there. There was some contact. All right, it's anybody's game. I'm not sure who's going to step up and play good basketball here in overtime, but either team's going to have to protect the basketball, make foul shots for sure, and then get a good shot with each possession.
Both teams made 20 shots in regulation. This has been an incredibly evenly played game beyond the score. Foul right there on Wilson. Hand check of Cumberbatch. And now we'll send Andel Cumberbatch to the line. 18 foul on St. Joe's. Our game reset. John, this is about as even as it gets.
Yeah, it comes down to crunch time, though. Who can play well when the game's on the line? And who can make good decisions, who can make foul shots. Bonnies have an edge on the foul line. They are a 70% foul shooting team, and the Hawks only at 62%. And St. Bonaventure's actually had a winning record on the road. They've won 6 of their 11 games on the road.
Both teams maxed out their timeouts in regulation. Each gets one added in overtime.
And this is a part of the game where Mark Schmidt would love to have Jay Adams, the freshman from Baltimore, in the lineup because he's such a good decision maker. He's a capable scorer. And he's had a terrific freshman season so far. Hopefully he'll be back for the Atlantic 10 tournament.
Drought of almost 7 minutes for St. Bonaventure without a field goal. Contact away from the basketball. Miles tangled up with Endoy. This goes against Isaiah Miles, his 4th foul, and Endoy will go to the line.
A real battle in the low post. You can see how Endoy really tried to establish position there. Miles, I thought, did a pretty good job of trying to keep him out of that space.
Endoy 3 of 4 at the line tonight. Earns himself one more.
It's a real opportunity for St. Bonaventure. This will be their 4th foul shot here in overtime.
They're 3 of 4 thus far. Endoy with 5 points, all at the line. 55-52, St. Bonaventure. Now, St. Joseph's went the final 7+ minutes of regulation without making a basket. Can they snap the slide now? Not there. And off the air ball, Bembry couldn't keep it in bounds.
Well, kind of a quick shot there on the part of Isaiah Miles. I know he's a streaky 3-point shooter, shooting 34%. But again, I just think you got to move the ball from one side of the court to the other. There's no hurry there. You just need to make the most of every possession.
Over a minute gone by in overtime. Each team with 9 fouls. They'll shoot 2 the rest of the way. Endoy around and lipped out. Still looking for his first made basket. Last touch by Miles will keep it with the Bonnies. You can see the frustration for the 7-footer from Senegal.
Well, this was a great pass here by Posley, and that's a play where Endoy just has to dunk the basketball, establish kind of your footing, and then just go up and dunk the ball with some kind of authority. Good decision on the part of Posley. I thought it was a terrific pass.
Before the inbounds, another foul. Isaiah Miles, number 5. So 2 quick ones in overtime. He is fouled out. He joins Bauman now on the bench, and that leaves the Hawks very thin up front.
Isaiah Miles obviously doesn't like the call, but he's got to read how the officials are calling this game, and you can get a sense here just on the right side of your screen. Endoy goes to the basket. Now I'll give Endoy some credit. I think it's the Oscars this weekend, and he's a little bit, demonstrative there as he gets the officials' attention. So there might be a bit of an Academy Award for that, but nonetheless, it puts Isaiah Miles on the bench.
Start to plan out the red carpet party for tomorrow.
Isaiah Miles certainly doesn't like sitting on the red cushion on the sidelines at this point in the game.
So the big fella back to the stripe where he made his last 2. A lot of 7-footers don't shoot it all that well from the line. You factor in his ability to finish, his height, his shot blocking ability, and the fact that he's only played 6 years of competitive basketball. You wonder where he goes from here, maybe somewhere.
You know what, Ed? When you're in overtime and you're in the double bonus, that rim looks a little bit bigger. So Endoy feeling pretty confident right now on the foul line.
Largest lead for St. Bonaventure, up by 5 here in overtime. Bembry trying to answer with a 3. Rebound for Greg.
Well, with Bauman out of the lineup here, St. Joe's is very small, and then put Isaiah Miles on the sideline. It's going to be difficult for the Hawks to get second shots. They're playing with a very small lineup now, especially with Endoy in the game.
Wright drives on Casper, leans in and hits, and a chance at 3 for Dion Wright. First basket for either team here in overtime.
Well, that was a good call to get the ball to Dion Wright. Dion Wright here catches the ball. Brendan Casper just came into the game to replace Isaiah Miles, and Wright just took him to the basket. A difficult matchup there for Brendan Casper.
3 and change left. 59-52. St. Bonaventure. And St. Joseph's has missed 9 consecutive shots.
Bonnies go back to this half-court 2-3 zone, keeping Endoy in the lane. They're just going to make St. Joseph's make a perimeter shot.
It's Demery. Big bounce. 3 brown jerseys there. And finally, the rebound snatched by Endoy.
The Hawks so cold here from beyond the arc in the second half, especially a bit reminiscent of their game at Fordham, where they struggled to make a shot after they made 5 of their first 7 threes.
Posley trying to lob it in for Endoy, and it's an offensive foul on Marcus Posley, and that's his 4th.
Well, not a good decision on the part of Posley. I like the fact that he's trying to get the ball to Endoy, but just take your time, especially with seconds left on the shot clock. No hurry there. The Hawks have not scored a field goal in the last 10 minutes.
And now a turnover. Posley in no rush now with 2 and change left.
Cumberbatch made a risky pass there and should have just kind of held on to the basketball. Again, this is, I don't like to keep saying that having a freshman in the game as your point guard makes a difference, but Mark Schmidt told me in the last couple games when it came to critical possessions, he really wishes that he had Jalen Adams on the floor.
8 to shoot. Posley on a kick out. It's right. Too much. Gregg picked up the board but couldn't stay in bounds. So St. Joseph's will get it. Down by 7 with 1:38 to go. But now they have to score. As you said earlier, almost 11 minutes without a made basket.
And again, you're going to have to look to take a 3. And right now the Hawks are 4 for 19 from beyond the 3-point line.
Bembry leans in. Offensive foul. The charge drawn by Yusu Endoy.
Well, Phil Martelli doesn't like the call, but Endoy does a pretty good job, I think, of getting in the lane. And look, looks like his feet are pretty well set, and he's well beyond that little circle under the basket.
Full court pressure. Dangerous spot to inbound it. Posley trips. Ball comes loose. Casper's got it. Timeout, St. Joseph's. So they maintain the possession after the turnover with a 7-point lead for St. Bonaventure. And we're inside of 1:30 left in overtime. 3 at Hawk Hill. Wins against UMass Davidson and Rhode Island. Right now down 7 in overtime. Wilson a catch and shoot. Hits the 3.
Well, he's the guy, probably. He's the guy that stepped up here on the offensive end tonight.
20 for Wilson. A steal. Last touch by the senior. With 1:09 left. 59-55. Bonnie's in front.
This was good ball movement on the part of the Hawks to get the ball to Chris Wilson, who's had a pretty hot hand here tonight. He had the game-winning 3 against Rhode Island not too long ago.
Wright draws the double. Timeout, Mark Schmidt. The shot clock was just at 25 seconds, which signals a 10-second count, but they were granted the timeout just before the violation.
Boy, that was a fraction of a second. Inbounding the ball is no small task here.
Got it into Wright. He draws 3 white jerseys, and he's fouled. Wilson thought there were steps on one side. Instead, Wilson's called for the foul.
Well, that was awfully close, and again, a very dangerous place to catch the basketball, and especially to pick it up. It's very easy to get called for the backcourt in that situation, as Dion Wright was straddling that midcourt line.
One more coming for Dion Wright, normally at 79% from the line. Now 1 for 3 here this evening. He has scored 11. In and out. 5-point game. 55 seconds to go. Brown in a pack. Stripped by Posley. Taken by Cumberbatch. No one to stop Dion Wright. And the Bonnies go up by 7. Back comes Demery. Answers with the bucket. Now, no timeouts on either side, so 42 seconds to go. It's back to a 5-point game.
Good drive to the basket by Demery.
Wright. Endoy comes up high with the elbow. And a foul. They whistle Casper for the foul for St. Joe's.
Boy, these are very, very close plays. I mean, Casper doing a pretty good job of getting his hands on the basketball. And you can see the reaction here amongst the fans at Hagan Arena. They wanted a jump ball here. Endoy actually does a pretty good job of catching the basketball. Now, you could argue there's contact here. But I'm not sure it would be a foul on Casper necessarily. Maybe Aaron Brown from behind. In overtime, it's really been foul shooting for St. Bonaventure.
He scored all 9 points at the line. Bonaventure shooting well from the stripe in OT.
Now, Bembry's bringing the ball up, and he's getting rid of it quickly. I'd like to see more of that from Bembry here in overtime.
They'll take that. Back within 4. Bembry now with 15 tonight. Shot clock is off. 33 seconds. Remember, neither team has a timeout.
St. Bonaventure really shrinking the court here.
Quick foul. Jostadea trapped Endoy. Don't think that was the plan after the trap. Nonetheless, it's on Casper. It sends the big guy back to the stripe.
The officials are calling it very close. Endoy is probably one of the few guys that can just catch the basketball without having to do too much. I like this where Bembry passed it and got it back. Now you can see he's pretty deep here. He looks much more comfortable actually taking a 3 than he does on the foul line.
6 of his 9 all at the stripe have come here in overtime.
Phil Martelli's team is trying to trap the basketball in the inbounds pass, but they've been called for a foul almost every time, and I'm sure he's a bit frustrated that because he thinks that his team has had a couple good traps in the last few possessions.
Need to be quick. Casper, little contact on the ball, and Wright with the rebound. He's quickly fouled by James Demery. With 24 seconds to go, 1 or 2 free throws could seal it here for St. Bonaventure.
Well, I recognize that St. Joe's had to take a quick shot. Brendan Casper was wide open, but I'd like to see maybe Bembry in that position or somebody else who may have perhaps a better opportunity to score.
Dion Wright, best free throw shooter coming in at 79%, with 1 more coming. And double figures Wright for the 20th game this season. This guy has made steady progress. Under 3 points a game as a freshman, almost 9 per game as a sophomore, averaging 13 per game coming in. That's where he is right now.
Well, this is going to be a huge win on the road for St. Bonaventure. And Ed, you said this in the very beginning. Over this series, the Bonnies have had a tough time winning here on Hawk Hill. So this might be their 4th win in quite a long time. 3-23 at Hawk Hill coming into this game. The teams have split their last 10. But the Hawks over this series hold a 49-19 lead.
St. Bonaventure in overtime. Now 13 of 16 at the free throw line. St. Joe's without Miles. He fouled out early in overtime. Bauman fouled out in regulation.
Made a huge difference, Bauman, out of the game. You saw Bauman sitting on the sideline. He had a little black patch on his jersey, JR, to signify the memory of Jack Ramsey, a wonderful Hall of Fame coach here at Hawk Hill.
Final 2 seconds here in Philadelphia, and St. Bonaventure snapping a 3-game slide. They needed overtime to do it, 70-60. So a couple of overtime wins this season on the road in the state of Pennsylvania. Duquesne and now St. Joe.